Before you say anything, before you walk away, please just listen. There's something I've been carrying inside me for a long time, something I never planned to say out loud, not because I didn't trust you, but because I was scared of what it might change between us. You see, everyone thinks they know me. They know the headlines, the success, the confidence, but there's a truth about me, about us, that no one else knows, and once I say it, there's no taking it back. No pretending everything is the same. What I'm about to tell you might shock you, it might hurt, or it might explain everything you've been feeling all along. So please don't interrupt, don't assume. Just listen, because this truth could change our love forever. I asked you to sit down, not because I wanted to control the moment, but because my legs felt weak for the first time in a very long time. The room was quiet, too quiet, and every second that passed made my heartbeat louder. You could probably hear it if you tried. I've faced rooms full of critics. I've stood in front of governments, investors, millions of people waiting for answers. None of that prepared me for this, for you. You looked at me with concern, your eyebrows slightly pulled together, your hands folded gently in your lap. That look alone almost made me stop, almost made me swallow the truth again and hide it behind another calm smile. But I couldn't, not anymore. Before I say anything, I began slowly. I need you to understand something. You nodded, silently giving me permission to continue. I don't say things unless I've thought about them 100 times. And this is something I've been thinking about every night. I stood up and walked toward the window, staring out at the city lights. From up here, everything looked small, manageable, predictable. Life usually makes sense when you reduce it to systems and patterns, but you were never part of any pattern I understood. I built my life around certainty. I continued, plans, calculations, outcomes. If something didn't make sense, I learned how to fix it. I turned back to face you, and then you happened. You let out a quiet breath, not interrupting, just listening, exactly like I'd asked. With you, I said, nothing followed logic. I couldn't predict how I'd feel after talking to you. I couldn't explain why your silence bothered me more than global criticism, and I couldn't understand why your smile stayed with me longer than any success I've ever had. I sat down across from you again, leaning forward slightly, my hands clasped together, not to look strong, but to keep them from shaking. That scared me, I admitted. Your eyes softened. Why, you asked gently. Because caring like that means risk, I replied. It means losing control, and control has always been how I survived. I paused, choosing my next words carefully. There's a side of me the world never sees. Not because it doesn't exist, but because I don't let it. I watched your face as I spoke, searching for fear, judgment, doubt. I didn't see any of it. I get lonely, I said quietly, not dramatically, not for sympathy. Just the truth, surrounded by people, constantly needed, constantly watched, and still alone. Your fingers tightened together, like you wanted to reach out but weren't sure if you should. And when you came into my life, I went on. You didn't ask for anything. You didn't try to impress me. You didn't treat me like a solution to your problems. I exhaled slowly. You treated me like a person. The silence between us stretched, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was heavy, full of meaning. That's when I realized something, I said. The thing I'm about to tell you. My throat tightened. This was the point of no return. I've been holding back, I confessed. Not because I don't feel enough, but because I feel too much. You looked up at me sharply now. I didn't want to overwhelm you, I continued. I didn't want you to feel pulled into a world that's complicated, public, and demanding. And most of all, I didn't want to hurt you. I stood again, taking a slow breath, but hiding the truth is hurting you anyway. I met your eyes directly, no distractions, no escape. The shocking part isn't a secret about my past, I said. It's not a scandal. It's not something you'll read in the news. I stepped closer. The truth is, I've been building walls around my heart my entire life, and you're the first person who made me realize those walls are the reason I've been alone. Your breath caught. I don't know how to do this perfectly, I said honestly. I don't know how to love without fear, but I do know one thing. I paused, letting the words land where they needed to. I don't want to keep pretending I don't feel what I feel. The room felt smaller now, more intimate, more real. What I'm trying to say, I finished, my voice lower but steady, is that the truth I was afraid to tell you, is that you matter to me more than I planned, more than I expected, and more than I know how to explain. I stopped speaking, not because I had nothing left to say, but because the next words would change everything, and I needed to know you were still listening. You didn't speak right away, and strangely, that scared me more than if you had interrupted. You just sat there, processing everything I'd said, your eyes moving slightly as if you were replaying each word in your mind. I could tell you weren't looking for a response yet. You were listening with your heart, not just your ears. That made what I had to say next even harder. I need you to understand something else, I continued quietly, something I've never explained properly to anyone. I turned away again, not because I didn't want to face you, but because some truths are easier to say when you're not watching someone's reaction in real time. My life looks powerful from the outside, I said, decisive, confident, controlled, but that image comes at a cost people don't see. I leaned my hand against the window, feeling the cold glass under my palm. It means never stopping, never slowing down, never letting yourself fall apart, even when you want to. I glanced back at you. You know what the hardest part is. You shook your head gently. It's knowing that if I disappear for a moment, the world keeps demanding more. And if I stay, I lose pieces of myself. I let out a breath that felt like it had been trapped in my chest for years. So I learned to survive by separating things, I said. Work over here, responsibility over here. Emotions locked somewhere far away. I paused, and I was good at it, until you didn't force your way in, I said softly. You didn't break the walls. You just stood there, patient, genuine, and somehow they started to crumble on their own. I walked back toward you and sat down again, closer this time. Not close enough to overwhelm you, but close enough to show I wasn't hiding anymore. That's the shocking part, I admitted. Not that I care, but that I don't know how to care halfway. You swallowed. What do you mean? I looked at you fully now. When I let someone in, I said, I don't do it casually. I don't do it safely. I do it completely. Your eyes widened slightly, and that terrifies me, I continued. Because my life isn't simple. It's public, complicated, sometimes unfair, and anyone close to me feels the weight of that. I shook my head slowly. I promised myself a long time ago that I wouldn't pull someone into this unless I was certain. The room felt heavier now, not tense, but real. And the truth is, I said quietly, I'm becoming certain. You leaned forward slightly. About us, I nodded. Yes, about you. Silence stretched again, but this time it felt warmer. More intimate? I didn't want to shock you, I said. I didn't want to rush you. I wanted time to make sure what I feel isn't temporary, isn't emotional noise. I met your eyes, it hasn't gone away. Your voice came out soft, neither has what I feel. Those words hit me harder than anything I'd said myself. I took a slow breath, grounding myself. Then you deserve the full truth, I said. I reached into my pocket, not dramatically, not suddenly, and pulled out my phone. I didn't open messages or photos. I simply turned the screen off and set it on the table between us. This, I said, tapping it lightly, is my world. Constant access, constant pressure, constant interruption. Then I placed my hand over it, and this, I added, is what I want when I'm with you. You watched me carefully. What are you saying? I'm saying I don't want to hide you, I replied, but I also don't want to lose you to my world. I looked down for a moment, then back up. So the shocking truth, the thing I've been afraid to admit, is that if we do this, I won't be able to do it lightly. Your heart was clearly racing now. I could see it in your breathing. I won't be distant, I won't be half present, and I won't treat you like something temporary. I paused, letting the weight of it settle. If you're in my life, I said, voice steady, it's because I'm choosing you seriously. I watched your face carefully, ready for hesitation, fear, even retreat. But instead, you stayed, and in that moment, I realized something else. The real shock wasn't the truth I was telling you. It was the fact that for the first time in my life, I was ready to let someone choose me back. You didn't answer right away, and this time the silence wasn't calm. It was heavy, charged with everything we were both afraid to say next. I could see it in your eyes. You weren't confused. You weren't distant. You were scared, and I couldn't blame you. Choosing me didn't mean choosing a person. It meant choosing a life that never truly slowed down. I need to ask you something, you finally said, your voice steady but quiet. I nodded. Anything. You took a breath. What happens when this world of yours gets loud again? The question landed exactly where it hurt. What happens when work pulls you away, when people want you, need you, criticize you? You continued, what happens to me then? I didn't rush my answer, because you deserved honesty, not reassurance. I've failed at that before, I admitted, not because I didn't care, but because I didn't know how to balance it. You looked down for a moment, absorbing that. I won't promise you perfection, I said firmly. I won't pretend I'll always get it right. I leaned forward slightly. But I will promise you this, if something pulls me away, I'll tell you. If I'm struggling, I won't disappear, and if I ever feel myself shutting down, I'll fight it. You looked back up at me. Why? Because that was the real question. Because losing you would hurt more than any failure I've ever faced, I said. The words surprised even me, not because they weren't true, but because I'd never said anything like that out loud. You swallowed hard. I've spent my life fixing things, I continued. Problems, systems, companies, futures. I shook my head slowly. But love isn't something you fix. It's something you protect. You stood up and began pacing slightly, trying to ground yourself. I didn't expect this, you said honestly. I didn't expect you to say any of this. I know, I replied. That's why I was scared to say it. You stopped and turned to face me, and if I say yes, the room felt like it stopped breathing. If you say yes, I said quietly, then I stop pretending I can do this alone. I stood up too, closing the distance, but not touching you. Not yet. It means I let you see the bad days, I continued, the exhaustion, the doubt, the moments where I question everything. I searched your face. And it means I trust you enough to stay. Your voice trembled slightly, and if I say no, I didn't hesitate, then I respect it, completely. You exhaled shakily. That's what scares me, you whispered. You're not trying to convince me. I shook my head because real choice only matters if you're free to walk away. That's when I saw it, the shift in your expression. Fear didn't disappear, but it stopped controlling you. You stepped closer now. Do you know what it feels like, you said softly, to have someone finally tell you the truth without trying to own you? My chest tightened. I think I do, I replied. You looked at me, eyes shining, not with certainty, but with courage. I don't need guarantees, you said. I just need to know I won't be invisible. I reached out then, slowly, giving you time to pull away if you wanted. You didn't. I see you, I said firmly, and I don't want a future where I pretend I don't. Your hand met mine, not desperate, not rushed, just real. In that moment, something shifted between us, not a decision, but a commitment to honesty. And as we stood there, hands connected, I realized the biggest shock of all. This wasn't about me choosing you, or you choosing me. It was about both of us choosing to stop being afraid. Your hand was still in mine, and somehow that simple connection felt heavier than every promise I had ever made in my life. Not heavy in a suffocating way, but heavy with meaning. With consequence, with truth. Neither of us moved at first, because we both knew the next words would define everything that came after. I need you to understand something, you said quietly, breaking the silence. If I step into this with you, I won't do it halfway either. I nodded slowly. That's exactly why I waited, I replied. I didn't want you unless you were choosing this freely. You let out a small, almost nervous laugh. Funny, you said. Most people try to convince you to stay. You're doing the opposite. I looked at you steadily, because if you stay out of pressure, resentment follows, and I refuse to build anything on that. You took a step closer. I could feel your breath now, slow, controlled, but emotional. What happens after tonight, you asked. The question wasn't about tomorrow. It was about reality. After tonight, I said honestly, nothing goes back to how it was. I released your hand, not because I wanted distance, but because I needed you to hear me clearly. If you choose me, I continued, you won't be a secret, but you also won't be exposed. I gestured vaguely toward the world outside. I'll protect your peace the way I protect my work. Fiercely, your eyes softened, and when it gets hard, I said, I won't disappear. I took a breath. I've done that before. Shut down. Gone quiet, chosen productivity over vulnerability. I met your eyes directly. I won't do that to you. You looked down for a moment, then back up, stronger now. And if I need reassurance, you won't have to beg for it, I answered immediately. I'll give it before you even ask. The room felt different now, not tense, not uncertain, clear. You nodded slowly, as if something inside you was finally settling into place. I'm not afraid of your world, you said. I'm afraid of being lost inside it. I stepped closer again, this time without hesitation. Then I won't let that happen, I said firmly. I raised my hand, stopping just inches from your face, not touching yet. But only if you want this. Your voice came out steady but emotional. I do, one word, simple, powerful. I do, you repeated. Something inside me finally released. Years of restraint, of caution, of emotional distance. I gently rested my forehead against yours, not dramatic, not rushed, just real. This isn't a promise of perfection, I said quietly. It's a promise of presence. Your hands rested against my chest, feeling my heartbeat, fast, human, honest. That's all I need, you whispered. Outside, the city continued moving. Deadlines, noise, expectations, none of it stopped. But for the first time, I didn't feel like I had to choose between that world and this moment. Because now, this moment was part of my world. I pulled back slightly and looked at you with a seriousness that surprised even me. From now on, I said, I don't run from what I feel. A small smile appeared on your lips. And from now on, you replied, you don't have to. We stood there, not as a billionaire and a mystery, not as uncertainty and fear, but as two people who had finally decided to be honest at the same time. And in that decision, everything changed. The room felt quieter now, not because the world outside had slowed down, but because the noise inside us finally had. Nothing dramatic followed, no sudden rush, no grand declarations, just two people standing in the aftermath of honesty, realizing how rare that moment truly was. For the first time in a long while, I wasn't thinking about tomorrow's responsibilities or the expectations waiting beyond the door. I was thinking about presence, about staying instead of escaping, about choosing something real even when it felt uncertain. You didn't ask me for promises, and I didn't offer fantasies. What existed between us was something stronger than both, truth. I had always believed strength meant control, controlling outcomes, emotions, distance. But standing there with you, I understood something differently. Real strength was allowing someone to see you without armor, without rehearsed confidence, without an exit plan. You looked at me and smiled softly, not because everything was solved, but because something essential had shifted. Fear no longer stood between us. It stood behind us, acknowledged, but no longer in control. I'm not here because it's easy, you said quietly. I'm here because it feels honest. Those words stayed with me, because honesty had always been the one thing I avoided when it came to emotions. And now, it was the very thing holding us together. As we stepped forward, slowly, deliberately, I knew this wasn't the beginning of perfection. It was the beginning of effort, of communication, of choosing each other even on days when confidence faded. And for the first time, that didn't scare me, because love, I realized, isn't about eliminating fear. It's about choosing to stay, even when fear exists, and this time I wasn't walking away.